Hey, what is up, everyone? Welcome to Market Psychology 101, where we look for value in the markets when there's fear and are cautious when there's greed. Today, I'm going to be taking a look at Bitcoin with all of you, where we are at, and what we might be able to expect from some of the altcoins. So, for any of you who are new to Bitcoin, what's important to know is that up until this point, Bitcoin has been following this trend of 4 year cycles. So when Bitcoin was first created, it had this double peak area back here, 2011. Wasn't a 4 year cycle back then, just a couple of years until the peak after the first halving. But after the second halving, it was 4 years later to the month of when we had the next peak. And after that, our last peak that we had was 4 years after that. However, this comes with an asterisk next to it because we had this COVID sell-off right here, and rates were low. Liquidity was being injected into the markets by the Fed, 6 trillion, something around there, printed out of thin air. And so I believe that is the reason we got an early top here. This truly was the time to sell your altcoins and Bitcoin. Sure, we had the second top. Some people were wondering if we were going to get a head and shoulders. This was the time to buy. So two prevailing thoughts that I've been seeing is that we're going to get another 4 year cycle, but people don't know if it's going to be in March or November. And when we take a look at this rainbow chart, you can see that each time we have the halving, we move up in one of these buy zones here on the rainbow chart. So we went from this first blue zone, the fire sale zone, to the buy zone, to the accumulate zone, and next you can see we're on track to be in the still cheap zone. Having around April 22nd, that would put us between 52 and 69,000. Okay, maybe it's going to get there. We will see. Going back to the 4 year cycle, should we honor that? If we topped out in March of 25, and let's be conservative. Let's say we only get, you see how we peaked here in the red areas, and then here in the second red area. Let's say we only peak in the orange area, the third box from the top. We'll even go early March there. Then Bitcoin will be somewhere in the range, according to this chart, things can always change, somewhere in the range of 153 to 198,000. And if we top somewhere around the beginning of November, then maybe we could be as high as 187 to 240,000. So I don't know what's going to happen. We will see. Every cycle, Bitcoin and the price action does something different. And we only have so many data points. So to try to predict what's going to happen based off previous cycles, you're going to make yourself look like a fool if you get too deep into it. I will show you the patterns, some things to look for, and you can take from that information what you will. Let's take a look at the fear and greed index. We are in extreme greed, 75 and above. And something important to note is that we have been trending up into greed since back here. Now, this is somewhat of a lagging indicator because Bitcoin did not bottom here. It bottomed in November of 2022. That's when FTX went bankrupt, Sam Bankman-Fried, all that stuff in the news, if that sounds familiar to you. This was the last true bottom, and we've been trending up ever since. So this trend, it's still going. I have wondered if we are in a sort of mid-cycle top. Now, this only took 6 months from the prior cycle bottom. I'll show you where that is. So when we had this cycle bottom, this took 6 months to get to that peak. I'll go back to the fear and greed here. So that was the peak there. We chopped around for the year, and even though we peaked in greed, the true top wasn't until May. Remember that first bump that I showed you in the double top of the last cycle? Let me show you that again if you forgot. So this right here, you could say this was a double top. So the first bump was right here, or you could even say a little bit earlier, somewhere in here. The second one was here. And our greed level has not been this high since the very top price of Bitcoin. When Bitcoin was top down in price, that was the last time we were this high in greed. So it doesn't mean we have to turn around now that we're going to get a sort of mini correction. It does not. We might still trend higher because our mid-cycle top got as high as 95. I've wondered before if we'd get somewhere around 85 before seeing a reversal in the trend. Maybe since we took a year to get up here and maybe even longer, and this took 6 months and then a year of going down and accumulation after that, I have wondered if whatever time we spend going up here, that we'll spend even less time in a correction phase. So sort of an A, B, C wave like that. Looking at the alt season index, and shout out blockchaincenter.net. They got a lot of good charts. This is the macro view of the alt season. So it says we are in Bitcoin season. What this means is that when Bitcoin is running up super fast, and instead of most of the money in crypto being in Bitcoin, it's rolling over into altcoins. Altcoins overall, if you pick the right ones, will give you a higher multiple return on your investment. So is buying altcoins the worst down here? No, it isn't. You can still find some good value in many altcoins. And I do videos going over the altcoins available on Robinhood, as well as the top altcoins by market cap on Coinbase. And I'll do other videos for other altcoins available on Coinbase just to see if you're getting max value or great value, possibly. So we're still down here. And again, last time we peaked up. So let's take a look. June, that mid-cycle top, that was here. That was here before we had a little bit of a sell-off. So remember that mid-cycle top? This was that peak there that I just showed you, or that bottom right there. When we went up into alt season, we had September 20th, May 21. That was the true top of the alt market. And then here, January of 22. You really should have been out by this point, May of 21. So let's take a look where Bitcoin was in September of 2020. We're going to scroll back here. And September of 2020, what's interesting here is, so I have this fib drawn up from the macro high to low. And September of 2020 was really the last time that you could get in before we ran off to new all-time highs. This was the area to sell right here. So something to keep in mind. Now, here's something else I noticed. When we zoom out on the time frame for this alt season chart, what do you notice here? We are trending down, and I wonder if we're going to be creating a bottom soon. Maybe a lot of altcoins are going to have somewhat of a sell-off moment soon. That's going to go into Bitcoin dominance. Let me show you Bitcoin dominance. And I've explained before that Bitcoin dominance is the overall amount of money in the crypto markets that's in Bitcoin. So right now, 53% of all money in crypto is in Bitcoin. So higher the dominance, the more money's in Bitcoin, less in altcoin. When it falls, that means money is either leaving the market overall or it's moving from Bitcoin to altcoins. So we've seen that twice before. We've seen that twice before in 2017 to 2018. This right here was the peak of the altcoin market. Is actually a week before, January 8th. I remember this day very vividly because some of my holdings that I did not sell, that was up really high after January 8th. Man, it was a bloodbath. Lost a lot, still gained some profits, but man, I could have had a lot more. So when Bitcoin dominance really rips down to these bottoms, that's when you want to think of getting out. So it happened last time. And then alternatively, look at Bitcoin dominance again. Look at that date, May. When we go down really big, that's the time to get out. When we break through support and just get down. Now, as you can see last time, when we chopped around here near the peak for Bitcoin dominance, we did have these moments where we went down. And this was, again, look at that date, September 20th. So if you don't see the date, it's at the bottom here, September 20th. That's when it was the very last possible time to get in. Dominance spiked up. People were getting heavy into Bitcoin. It was the last leg of the overall bull run getting started. And then alt season. This is when all the crazy stuff happens, where altcoins that you have money into, if you pick the right ones, can do a 10x, a 20x, if you're lucky, even more than that. So what I've noted is this Bitcoin dominance trend going up, like before, we have broken under it. Are we going to hit these trend lines? Well, for sure this one, eventually. And this one, we have this descending trend line. if we do smack it, people have talked about how dominance has to smack it early. I don't know if it does have to. I just know that compared to last time, when it did, that was really the last possible time, here and here. So this was December of 2020. You want to know where Bitcoin was in December of 2020? It was already in all-time high area. So I'd say even before that. So we'll see if we get this bottom top and then jump or the sell-off. I say sell-off, but I'll say a transfer of money from Bitcoin to altcoins. We'll see if we go down, up, and then down again. I'm wondering if that's going to happen. That's why I have this green arrow here. It does not have to. Maybe we just go up and then shoot down. I don't know. Every cycle is different. Just looking at the one before. Now, there was most money. Look at that. 95% of all money was in the Bitcoin. That first time I was in crypto, 2017, that's when the altcoin boom was happening. All these altcoins being created out of thin air. I'll never forget a conversation I had with a guy at the gym. We connected over talking about crypto, and he mentioned how there's even a Dogecoin, and it was pretty much worthless, and we both laughed it off. Guys, humble yourself enough to never laugh off anything in crypto, no matter how stupid it is. If I would have put 1,000 into Dogecoin when we were laughing at it, I'd be a multimillionaire by now. So take from that what you will. Didn't get in Doge, sadly enough. So do be humble enough to have an open mind. And in crypto, it's an ironic space. What can I say? So anyways, I was really getting in the late part of 2017. You can see dominance went up a little. So we had this bottoming, kind of like we did here. We bottomed, spiked up, and then boom. Bottomed, last time to get in, spike up, and then boom. This spike up, where was this? December, early December. Guys, that was the very end of that bull run. We had 1 month from then. If you don't believe me, where was early December? It was right in here, right near the peak. After it peaked, we had maybe a couple weeks, something like that. So I'm just trying to draw a picture for you guys how dominance will bottom out, spike up near the very end, and then as it's crashing, that's the time to exit your altcoin positions. It was true here. It was true here. And so I know it's only 2 data points. Things could be different, not financial advice, but I am looking for something similar to that to happen again. Now, with all those things being considered, when you see this, we're still early. We still have the halving coming up. I'll get into that in a second, what that might mean. And so as far as what I see, we're still early, at least from previous data. Things can change. Going back to the alt season, we are still trending down here as we zoom in. So here we were very zoomed out, a more macroscopic view. As we zoom in, we still see altcoin season going down. And so when I looked at that, I thought, well, what was it doing after that mid-cycle top in 2019? Is there anything that we can see here? So 2019, remember, it was June, July, that we had that peak in Bitcoin. We had that mid-cycle top, mid-2019. Well, we went down here. You really could say that, well, we were somewhat trending up, but we had these bottom peaks here. And here we were chopping around. But once we saw things start to trend up, there were still some bottoms over here. So I guess you could make some correlation out of it. As you zoom in more, the charts do get more messy. But again, when we were topping out in 21, you can see overall the trend was strongly going up, not going down. The last time it went down before going up was late. So look at this again, September 2020. That was the last time it was going down. And then October of 2020. What was Bitcoin doing October 2020? It was getting ready to rip up to new highs. So it was going down here. Are we in a similar type of place right now? If so, that would mean the bottom of Bitcoin dominance and the top of Bitcoin and the top of altcoins is coming way earlier than prior times before. We have to be open-minded to alternative possibilities, all because things have happened in the past with Bitcoin dominance, altcoins and Bitcoins. We have to be nimble enough to react to different conditions. So again, going back to the altcoin chart, you see this trended down just like we are doing today, trending down. Are we possibly getting ready to have a big blow off top? Maybe. I don't know. As you can see, though, when we did have that peak in 2019, that July peak, we were going up, and then we still had a lot of chop until then. We still had a year. So if I had to guess, I would say that, going down here to possibly go up into new all-time highs, Bitcoin and stuff, do I think that's going to happen? Personally, no. However, I'm willing to be wrong. And if I'm wrong, I'm also flexible enough to be ready to take profits if that's the case. If Bitcoin dominance tanks like it did before, and all of a sudden it just drops early out of nowhere, pre-halving, well, then I'm ready to get out. So you can see here, when we're around this 40% level, maybe we're only going to drop down to the low 40s, because you can see each time we've gone up a little bit. However, there is this base over here. If we're around this 40 to 42% level, and all of a sudden we drop down to that, you got to be flexible enough to get out. Let's take a look at the rainbow chart. I think I already went over this, actually. Never mind. Let's go to Bitcoin. And something else I've noted, you probably see this halving year 33% up range. What's that all about? Well, something I've noted is prior halving years, during that halving year, which is also an election year, this is how much the price of Bitcoin has gone up from January 1st of 2012 to December 31st of 2012. It went up 250%. The second halving year, it went up 130, about half. And if you don't know, a Bitcoin halving means that the miners, after the halving, mine half the amount of Bitcoin as it does before. So people say that creates a supply crunch and drives up demand. Sure, maybe. I don't know. After that halving year, we were in a range of 65%. So let me draw that out for you. This is January of 2020. You can see we were bottomed out over there. And we were up at this fib around 65% at that 0.5 fib. And is that the 0.5? Yes, it is. So we were up 65%. The difference was, and I talked about this in the earlier part of the video, is that we also had trillions of dollars being injected into the markets by the Fed. Your stimulus checks, everything. That's why your grocery bills, houses, cars, everything has shot up so much. So all this extra money was brought into the market. People got into everything. And this wasn't just crypto. This was a bunch of other stocks too. I think I remember things like Shopify, PayPal. Let's take a look at PayPal. That's a prime example. Everything was going up an insane amount. And so if we just go back to 5 year, yeah, look at this. So it's similar to crypto, February 21. Here's the COVID crash. Look how much these other stocks went up, like 2-3x. And now look at PayPal. Maybe by PayPal, it's kind of a good bottoming structure. If we zoom way out, you can see we had a monthly buy signal recently at around this price. So, hey, do your research. Maybe think about PayPal. Anyways, this is a crypto video. Let's get back on task. So in here, markets did something that they haven't done in a long time because there's so much extra money. So that's why I have this asterisk here. I do wonder if without that injection of trillions of dollars, if this would have been around where we ended up. Maybe it wouldn't have been perfectly in half. Maybe it would have been 70%, whatever. So I have wondered if we're going to move up half that amount this time. And coincidentally enough, let me get rid of this indicator, that takes us right up to this fib of the 236. Now I drew from the bottom to the top. I know you can, when you're going from a top to a bottom, you can draw the fibs the other way. Point still stands. that maybe we're going to move up 33% from January 1st to the end of the year. We're going to see if that stays true. Who knows? Maybe Bitcoin's going to 150K this year. Again, trends and patterns, trend lines, they're only good for as long as they're good for. Things change. If we could predict everything, then we'd all be billionaires. So nothing repeats the way it does. It's just a fun thing to look at and to see that, what we can do. This is just one of many tools that we can put in our tool belt for when we make a plan, and to say, you know what, maybe this is something to expect this year, but be flexible enough for things to change. The last thing I've talked about with Bitcoin price is how after the high to low, and again, this rainbow lines, that's a Fibonacci scale I have up there. After the high and low were created, where was the peak in the Fib scale? This green line is the 0.5. So the peak of Bitcoin before the halving, that's a white line, was below the 0.5. I've noticed a pattern here. The peak from the high to the low, after the high to low, look, the peak was very close to the halving. I think that might happen this time again. Was above the 0.5 and almost to the 382. So we were below the 0.5. We've moved up in this Fibonacci range to the 382. What happened this time? Well, the peak here was at the mid-cycle top I talked about before in 2019. We got above the 382. So I've wondered, maybe this time around, we're going to get up closer to the 236 and peak there before the halving, and maybe have a correction after. So the 236 is at 56, which is also where our halving expectations, the high part of that range, leads us to. So that's why I've drawn this crappy light blue line here, that maybe we're going to have a sell the news event for a little bit, accumulate, correct, and then go up to new all-time highs sometime starting later this year in 2024. That's just my guess right now. It doesn't mean this has to happen. Part of the reason I do think the halving might be a sell the news event is because as we look right here, let's zoom into the daily. As we look right here, what was this all about? Well, this right here was when the Bitcoin ETF approvals went through. Price was going up, going up. It was a buy the rumor, sell the news event for the Bitcoin ETF. Well, now we've gotten above it, so it's sell the news, at least for a little bit. And so, me personally, I do believe Bitcoin is going to go to new all-time highs. Is it going to honor the prices on the rainbow chart and go to 160 to 200K? I don't know. We'll see. I do believe Bitcoin is going to go to the new all-time highs. Where that's going to be, I don't know. And I do believe that, like we had to buy the rumor, sell the news event, that's going to happen for the halving. The price is probably going to keep going up into the halving. Yeah, we might chop around, get up here, and then correct. And we'll see how much we correct. Now, this buy zone, this mega buy zone, that's just for me personally. Please do not copy what I'm doing. This is for, how should I put this? Do I only buy crypto when the price is in here? No. There are altcoins that I've even bought this month that were at their price range from when Bitcoin was below here. Now, some have already ran up. I don't like to chase, but the reason I have this buy zone down here is because last time when we did reach our peak, that 382, we chopped around for a year, and anything below the next fib down, the 0.5, was where to buy. So the 236 looks like we're going to get up there around the halving time, and so anything below the 382 is where I'd like to buy, which is right up here. So let's move this up here. The 382 right there, and the mega buy zone above the, I'll do above the 618. I want to give myself a little bit of wiggle room. So I had full transparency. I had this adjusted for if we were to repeat what happened back here. Now I have it adjusted for if the fib level moves higher. So this was at least one fib zone down, was a good area to buy, because I noticed, I didn't notice this early, but I noticed it later, because I noticed that our fib price, our peak pre-halving, does move up higher than anything below the 382, and especially the 618 would be a good time to buy. I think this would be the mega buy zone down here, and the buy zone would be somewhere in there. So yeah, maybe we get one blip of a correction below 35, get down to somewhere like 31K at the lowest should a big correction happen. But again, guys, I don't know what's going to happen. Something else to consider. When we have had peaks of Bitcoin, maybe you're wondering, when is it a good time to get out? Well, here's a couple things I showed you. When we are up in these top 3 color ranges, could be a good time to get out. When we have peaked in greed and gone down a little bit, because again, this can be a lagging indicator. It's not one-to-one correlation of greed to price. That may be a time to take profits. So those are a couple different ways to look at it. You can even look at the alt season index, zoom way out. Right now we're very low. When it's peaking could be a time to get out. Something to note though is you wouldn't have wanted to get out at this peak. Bitcoin was not in a new all-time high. It was here. I also showed you that when Bitcoin dominance was tanking below support, those were times to get out. So already there's a few factors to look out for. I'm not saying all that has to happen again, but these are more tools in our belt in order to try to sell near the high, if you are going to. Another thing you can use is this pi cycle Bitcoin high-low indicator. I love this indicator. There are other indicators too that we can look at. Now, first halving cycle, you'll notice we had a high. So look how soon this happened after that halving. November 2012 till April of 13. So yeah, half a year later after the halving, we got this. So where would that put us this year? May, June, July. So might we get an early pi cycle high if we were to copy something like this? Sure, maybe. If we did top out somewhere from, in the later part of this year, around October, November, I think a lot of people would be freaking out. Like, what do I do? This is different. We haven't had this since back here. Would it be an early top and then sell off? I don't know. When we did peak early and run up really fast after this first cycle, though, we had another pi cycle high. So if you would have sold here, you would have missed out on some stuff. And then again, how many people do we actually know that were in Bitcoin back here? You could have just bought in hell forever. The low was here. Good time to buy. Pi cycle high here. Pi cycle low here. Good time to sell. Good time to buy. And guys, again, this is reflected here. So it's telling you to sell near the top and where to buy near the bottom. Let's go back. Pi cycle high, look, is showing at that earlier part. Pi cycle low, no, it didn't hit the very bottom. But whether you got crypto at sub 20K at like 19.5 or 17, right now, who the hell cares? Because it's at 51. Either way, you add a 2.5x, maybe a 3x. Okay, either way, you're doing pretty good. So that's something to look at. Also, you can take a look at this moving average that we have here. This white line at the top. When we break above it, and we broke above it here early, is it going to keep breaking above it? Is it going to keep running up? Here we touched it, and then we corrected for a bit. Here we broke above, and we kept going. We kept bouncing off of that. You can see other times, that mid-cycle top I talked about, look, we touched it, but then we went under. So if Bitcoin does have an early pi cycle top, if we get under pretty soon after, maybe that's something to show you that maybe you can be more patient. another thing to consider is each cycle, Bitcoin does become a little bit less volatile. Now, it's still very volatile, but it does become less volatile. Back here, you could have been making an 80x on your Bitcoin, a 20x, a 10x. So I do wonder if this time around from buying the bottom, if you're, or even around here, if you're going to make closer, 5 to 10x each time, seems to be a little bit less. So we'll see where that goes. As far as the top, if we are to honor a 4-year cycle, that's why I have this red line in November. Yellow line, I have that in March. Just in case, this is my caution line, just in case that we have a very early top that I might have to consider getting out by March of 25. But again, I'm going to look at all these other factors with that. We can take a look at total 3. This is the market. This looks a lot like the Ethereum chart, by the way. Let's just compare. Looks very similar. So Ethereum, top altcoin, but this is a total market cap without Bitcoin and Ethereum. And yeah, you can see here how hard we ran up in those bull runs. Okay. Now we still had this mid-cycle top. Look at this. We still had a move. You could just say from the bottom there that we moved up about 150% from this line down here, but then still went lower. So from this area down here, we've moved up about half the amount. Heck, we could even draw it from, let's draw it from way back here. Yeah, half the amount, but again, each cycle gets a little bit less volatile. You also see the RSI slowly going down, which means prices overall are stabilizing. Again, just things to consider. Now, as far as what altcoins to get into, guys, I do my altcoin videos every week or so with the altcoins, the top altcoins available on Coinbase, and all of the altcoins. There's like 12, 13 of them on Robinhood. And we go week by week, and I take a look at the indicators, buy-sell indicators on the monthly, the weekly. A lot of the strong altcoins have already bounced up from here. If you want to be very patient and look for good altcoins, take a look at the monthly. And if it is bottomed and is accumulating, then the monthly would not be a worse place to start. Look at this. IMX creating a higher low. Fetch, it's an AI coin, higher low. Could have gotten some fetch in here. He did get some fetch in here and made some good profits. Jasmy, that one's been talked about a lot lately because I bought some Jasmy down here between 0.004 and 0.005 in this range, and I've already done like a 2-3x of my Jasmy, so that's doing pretty good. So when you're taking a look at these coins, is this the worst time to buy? No. Now, the best time to buy was back here. And yes, we are at yearly highs for some of these. However, that does not mean that you can't still get into good altcoins like Link. And maybe Link is never going to show another monthly buy signal. Maybe it only has one more left in the tank. If it does, hey, get ready to get in if Link is an altcoin you like. As you can see right here, you can let these big weekly sell signals play out. This is on the daily. Let's go to the weekly. The daily is showing that it wants to go down. That's why we have this doji candle here. So, if Link was to get down somewhere to these moving averages, then sure, you could take a look at buying there. I use moving averages more for bigger stocks. And yeah, right now it looks, when it tags that purple one, that purple moving average, that tends to be a decent time to buy. There's a lot going on. I'm having a hard time seeing this. I know I have to change the colors on these. So overall, my goal here, guys, is to try to make investing into stocks or crypto more of a stress-free thing where you can take a quick look. And if you have a list of 3 to 5 cryptos or maybe 10 stocks, that you could take a look yourself, just the way I'm taking a look at some of these factors and see, is this a good value place to buy? Or if it's a stronger stock, where can I get better value as it's going up? In a descending market, here, let's take a look at Here's an altcoin I've been thinking of lately. Let's take a look at AMP. So in a descending market, you're going to have buy signals in here on the way down, and you're going to catch falling knives. So do you purely buy signals? No. When we are falling, I like to take a look not only at a more macro signal, so this would put the buy sell on the monthly, but I also like to look for accumulation as well, a bottoming process. And so when we're falling, if you would have bought, just waited for the first monthly sale, well, you'd be back to even if you bought back here. Again, you can wait a month or two, or if you're on the weekly, a week or two. But when we're falling, I like to see structure. I like to see somewhat of a reversal on relative strength. You can see the strength was starting to curl back up. This is on the weekly, so I do like to see overall more green getting back into the charts. So here as it started to be stronger, I myself, once we got up to around this 0.003, that's where I would have been excited about buying in here. And then we started to accumulate more. So this to me would have showed that, okay, maybe we're ready to go up. This is for when we're going down. When things are trending down, you don't want to just buy every signal on the way down. Okay, it's not even that simple. When we are moving up though, and things come back down, accumulate, and then you get a signal after we've had a pullback, those can be good times to buy. And then again, I've already shown you guys what are some areas to look at taking profits as we peak. So even if we look at something like Fetch, do I think Fetch.ai could run even higher? Sure. Let's take a look. Let's go back and look at something like Cardano. I'll be closing this video pretty soon. So Cardano, you can see we can have some big runs up all the way to the top. And it might be hard to know when to buy. Again, look at this date here. August, September of 21. That was near the end of the Bitcoin bull run. So I talked about how many altcoins already topped in around March to May. So where would the price be March to May? So $1.20 to $2. If you would have sold in here and bought anywhere in here at around 5 cents, let's say 4 or 5 cents, man, that would have been a 40x. So selling here, great. Sure. Could you have sold a further top? Yeah. Guys, I'm not going to claim to know when a further top's going to happen. I've seen coins do this where there's another top in them. If you, here's what I'll say. If you're not happy with a 20x or a 40x, then I think you're gambling a little bit. And I am more than happy to take a 10x even any day of the week. Heck, a 5x. So crypto, it is more speculative. When Bitcoin's topping out, me personally, not financial advice, that's when I'm looking to take a lot of profits. Could things go up 30, 50% more? Sure. However, if you're buying down here, who the heck cares? If you get a 20x, good job. Happy for you. 50x, good job. How greedy do you want to be? So if you are getting into crypto, make a plan, make an entry plan, make an exit plan, write down a list of 3 to 5 cryptos that you feel most strongly about. Start tracking the charts the way I'm showing you guys, and make sure you have an exit plan. That maybe you take in some of those factors like I talked about. Maybe you're going to wait for Bitcoin dominance to start ripping down. Maybe you're going to wait for the pi cycle top. Maybe you're going to wait for Bitcoin to get into one of these orange reddish colored regions. Whatever it is, make a plan. Maybe you're going to dynamically exit out a percentage of your position. Everyone's got to do their own thing. So do your own research on your coins. If you are able to get an accumulation area like the way I have and things like Link and Fetch and others, I'd say you can still hold. Now, might there be a pullback and maybe you could sell and then take profits and buy lower? Sure, maybe, guys. I don't want to get into too much of the game of being a trader compared to an investor. I like to encourage patience. And here at Market Psychology, the more patient we can be, the better. all these markets, it's just a transfer of wealth from impatient people to patient people. Now, you can't be overly patient and be left holding bags and waiting another 3-4 years to the next top. You don't want to be overly patient like I was with some of my assets back here where I didn't sell till here. Still made great money. I made great money here, profits here, profits here. Here I was able to get out on time because I knew what to expect. And so having been through two of these, I know what to expect, and I'm just trying to encourage you guys, just some factors you can put into your plan. So hope you guys enjoyed this video. I just wanted to talk about all things Bitcoin, get you ready to have a plan. Again, do your own research when it comes to your altcoins. I don't know what's going to happen. Do I think this could be a decent value time to find some altcoins? Yeah, I do. Will some of them be at the best buy zone? No. Do know that if you do buy altcoins right here, it is possible you might see them correct in the short term. You're going to have to be okay with that. Now, me personally, I like when Bitcoin has one of these weekly sell signals. Each of these sell-offs have been about 20%. I can show you that right now. This will be my last point, and then we'll go. 23%. 20%. This one was very similar to this one. You're going to have to trust me, bro, on it. The ETF sell-off, 20%. So if we get another weekly sell signal and we get down 20% and then we get a weekly buy signal or even a monthly, yes, I'm going to be buying into that. And that is where me personally, I am waiting to buy altcoins next. Now, it doesn't mean you can't find some altcoins. If you're doing your research, you're checking it once a week, you might find some altcoins that have better value a week or two later. That's okay too. But there are ways that you can make sure you are buying the lows and selling the highs. Everyone talks about doing that like it's so easy. It's not. If you have a plan, this is one way you can help yourself buy those lows. And if it goes lower, after you get a buy signal and it fakes out, goes lower, hey, if it's a coin or an asset, a stock that you like, when it goes lower and you get another buy signal and you believe we're still macro going up, buy more. You should be excited about that instead of being disheartened and not buying more when it's at a discount. So that's what I'm trying to do, guys. I'm just trying to help you psychologically be more patient, view things as a contrarian, try not to buy into the news and the hype too much, make your own plans, stick to it, do your own research. And guys, I truly hope that this helps you out. I'm happy to give out this content for free. And if I never make money off YouTube, that's fine. I'm okay with it. I get joy out of helping other people because I've been here, I've made money, and if I can share some knowledge that helps others, that's fine. Again, nothing's financial advice here. Are we going to get another 4-year cycle type peak? I hope so. I don't truly know. But if we do, then this might be, you might be able to find some altcoins that have value. So hope you guys enjoyed this video. Hope you all have a wonderful weekend. And if there's any cryptos you'd like for me to take a look at that are available on Coinbase outside of the top 10 that I don't talk about, please comment below. If there's any other things you've noticed with Bitcoin, the 4-year cycles, any patterns, things you want me to take a look at and do a video about, let me know as well. But again, here I try to make investing, whether it's in stocks or crypto, more stress-free, and try to show you tools and tips where you can do your own research on the side and then take a look at the price action and see where can you find maximum value for your hard-earned money. Just that's all I'm trying to do here for you guys. I hope you enjoy, and I hope you are all doing well and that this eventually helps us all make some good profits down the road. So anyways, take care, guys. Bye-bye.